Hey everyone, it's me, Christian, for a new episode of Casually Christian presented by Livestream My Event. For those who are checking us out for the first time, here on Casually Christian, we talk about people's lives, their interests, and their passions. So if you like our content, please remember to hit like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell to catch the latest episodes. And you can also find us on Spotify. So yeah, today we're going to talk about a disorder that's affecting 40 million Americans. That's 19% of the population. Today, we're going to talk about anxiety. And, for a lot of people, anxiety, they think about it as standing in line and you get those butterflies, you're waiting for that roller coaster. But for a lot of people, it's more than just those butterflies in your belly. For a lot of, it's debilitating, crippling, and it could also ruin people's lives. So somebody who's dealt with anxiety, I know how heavy this subject is. And I want to talk about it because I want to take away the stigma of not talking about mental health. So today I'm going to bring in Paul. He suffers from the disorder, and Christine, who's a social worker that deals with anxiety and depression. So thanks you guys for coming on Casually Christian. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
Hey
for
guys.
having me.
No problem, man. For those who don't know about you guys, I wanted you guys to talk a little bit about yourself, just your background, just so people can know about you. So starting with Paul.
Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know, I went to high school with you, Christian.
Yeah, that's right.
After I graduated the year after you, after that, I went to the military. I joined the Navy. I was a CB. I was a heavy equipment mechanic, so not exactly on boats. We flew out to places, and we were just um, like basically construction workers of the military.
Yeah.
After I did the great military path of getting married and having a kid way too young
Hmm.
in the military. So that led me into what this episode is definitely about.
Okay.
After the military, I went to school and I got a degree in audio engineering. But here in LA, audio engineering, it's you start out with what is that intern work that
Yeah.
without getting paid, and
Hmm.
that doesn't pay child support. So
Yeah.
I fell back onto what I did in the military. So now I'm a heavy equipment mechanic over at Caterpillar. So
Okay.
that's
I know that business, that organization. But you know what? Like being an artist, you need like that job to pay your bills, but you're still doing your art, your passion on the side. And it really bugs me when people say like, "Oh, this is your hobby." Does that bug you, Paul? When people say like that's your hobby, like, nah, this is my passion. You know?
well, it is a passion, but it feels good that it is a hobby because sometimes like if it was like a job that I was getting paid for, I'd feel like
Hmm.
I'd get burned out.
I
Like
see. Yeah,
yeah,
I totally understand because like if you're working at like you come in every day and you start getting burnt out, it's like
yeah.
how much and you start fizzling out. But I understand. And thanks Paul for sharing a little bit of background. And let's go with Christine. Can you share us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Christine, and I'm a licensed clinical
Can you
social
come in closer to the mic, Christine?
I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and can you hear me?
You're coming in a little low.
Oh, I'm I'm at the highest volume right now.
Let's see. Maybe. Well, just go for it. Just continue. We'll
Okay,
maybe hope improve.
so
There you go.
I got my undergraduate degree in psychology, and then I went on to study in my master's in social work, and then became a licensed clinical social worker. I started in 2009, but got licensed in 2013, and that's where the majority of the time I spent working in mental health, including inpatient psychiatric hospitals.
Oh, okay. And is that where you met Christina?
Yes.
Because we have a mutual friend, and I met her at a bar, and we were just talking about. We're actually talking to you about like coming on my show eventually to talk about anxiety. And today I decided to pull the trigger because I wanted to talk about it because like for some reason I don't know, like have you noticed like an uptick of anxiety cases, Christine, like in your field, or is it just still the same? Because it feels like something's going on in the air where just like it feels like people are just getting panic attacks.
I think it's always been a pretty common disorder, but
Mhm.
given the pandemic, I think that it's really um, increased a lot because of people not being able to leave the house and then losing their jobs and or getting sick or losing loved ones.
Yeah, I guess it's about the uncertainty,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of you for a lot of people, especially with me. Like you always think about like the future things that hasn't happened yet, and that's what kind of like triggers with people's anxieties. Like you have to live in the moment.
Right.
So yeah, yeah. Let's see. Oh, we got some people responding. Christina, she says hi, and she's like, yeah, I
I
think COVID made it worse for sure. And yeah, it's I what happened to me in COVID is I gained the COVID-20. Oh my damn it! I had a good body too. I'm like, and then it's like I hurt my back. I'm like, all right, let's pop over the beer and get some cookies. But you know what?
Definitely.
How about well? I guess let's start off, Paul. Like, what I mean, what can you tell us your story about like how you had your experience, your first panic attack? Like, were you somebody who always had like anxiety attacks when you were younger, or
Yeah.
did it happen later on in your adulthood?
So, growing up, I always had anxiety. I didn't know what it was. I just thought I just was afraid of everything, or I would shut
Mm,
down. Basically, I still do it to this day. I disassociate.
yeah.
So as a kid, when things would get when pressure would get to me, or you know, um, with my parents or anything like that, I would just kind of just close myself in, and I didn't know that that was just my coping mechanism. Um, so I just kept going with it throughout the military. There's obviously the pressures there, getting out and then adding a kid and a divorce and a custody battle that lasted 5 years.
Oh,
Just got worse and worse. And about 5 years ago now, I had a nervous breakdown at work. I Everything was just, it just felt like the whole world was going wrong. Everything I touched was turning to shit. And I went and sat down to the bathroom, and I started crying, and
mhm,
I couldn't stop. And I went to my boss, and I told him, I said, I don't know what's happening. I think I'm going to kill myself. And a guy I work with that's also a veteran. He said, "Hey, go to the VA right now and go to." He told me exactly where to go for the mental health, and
yeah.
through tears, I made it. I parked, and at the VA when I walked into the mental health wing, and usually you go to the VA, and there's people there that it's like the DMV. They don't want to do their job,
Mm,
but the mental health wing. They went in. The guy, hey, what's going on? Can I help you? And I said, I don't know what's happening. I think I'm going to kill myself. And uh, they led me in. They kept me there all day. They talked to me. Everybody made me feel warm and welcome. And
yeah.
then I got into an intensive therapy program, and finally started being able to chip away at this onion that I'd been just growing my whole life, layer after layer of stuff that I
Yeah.
just
And
wouldn't
bottle it up.
address. Yeah. So that's what led me to um, getting therapy and actually realizing that I've been having coping mechanisms that weren't healthy my whole life.
Mhm.
You know,
If for Christine, for somebody who say like Paul was your patient, or like how would you address that his situation? Just would you start from like childhood, or like would you give him exercises to overcome anxiety?
Well, the safety part of whether you um, wanted to take your life or not was is the most important part to start off with first, because we want to make sure that you're safe um, with the thoughts that are going through your head. We start there. We also want you to um, rule out anything that is medical first, actually, just in case, because there's things like hormones that come into play, or thyroid disorders. Just
Mhm.
all of those things have to be considered before we get to the mental health portion of it.
right? And they also took my blood to check, like asked me if I had done drugs recently and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Substance use plays a huge part in the anxiety. Sometimes that's what induces anxiety for some people, even though it's used as a coping mechanism.
I have a question. You mentioned a thyroid problem. I like how can that increase your anxiety? I don't because I don't know. like what is the thyroid? Is it like something? I don't know. I was wondering, Christine, if you could tell us what's up with that.
It's a hormone that pretty much is, I don't know how to explain this biologically. I'm not a doctor, but you have to get that checked with your physician through labs.
Oh,
And
okay.
hyperthyroidism usually plays into the depression.
Hmm.
Hypothyroidism, meaning if it's low levels, then that increases your anxiety more often.
I
So
see.
those things need to be checked.
Yeah, like because I've been researching about anxiety because I had like last year I saw let's see Elaine said it controls your metabolism. Oh, okay. Thank you for sharing us. Uh, like last year I saw my dad passed away like almost a year ago in November, and I had like I am somebody who grew up with social disorder, like a social anxiety disorder. I really like I have to talk to somebody first before maybe we're vibing, and then we become homies. And then like if I if and I always been somebody who's reserved, keep to myself, and that's why I write a lot. I get my all my emotions through my out with my writing, my being creative. But seeing your loved one pass away was something that I never seen before, except on on the television. And so it's something so different, so obviously life changing. And my whole family was there when my dad slipped away, and like I think 4 months later, I got sick, right? And I had like this sinus infection. So I didn't want to go to the doctor and do this whole like acrobatic thing of like I knew we had some meds in the cupboard, and I was like penicillin. It's like, oh, and I Googled it. I went to Doctor Google. It's like, okay, what is this for? So I self-diagnosed. And it's like, oh, this is for your, sinus infections. You're like, wow, voila, I'll take this one. And I took it, and I always felt fine. And then, like, I felt like I was getting better. I remember it was like a Monday. I was getting better. I was watching this annoying show with Jerry Leto. Jerry Leto was his name, that Leto dude. And I was like chilling. It's like, oh, I'm feeling better. The show pissed me off. I'm feeling better, And I went to go take a leak, and as soon as I got up, like I was, relieving myself, and my heart started to pound. I started to sweat. I'm like, what? What am I feeling? Like, well, like my hands are tingling, and then I went to the restroom to wash my hands real quick. Like my head started to get all buzzy, and I'm somebody who suffers from also like hypertension. So I'm like, uh-oh. So I did my blood pressure. My blood pressure was like 206 over 102 or something like that. It was high. It's never been that way. And then I think I went to the fight or flight response. And then after that, like it just like it is like the glass overfilled in my head and water was just spilling out. I was just like I was thinking I was gonna die. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't catch my breath. My head was all buzzing, and my heart was racing. And I called 911 because I didn't know what to do, because I'm like, am I overreacting? And then on my head's like, well, they always say you want to call 911 because you never know. I'm like, I don't want to be that statistic where like, oh, you should have called 911, you would have been here. So I called them, and then I went to the hallway, and everything was like in a Dutch angle. It was like Batman, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It was like I was on a boat, and I was trying to make my way down in the bottom because I couldn't wait for them to come upstairs. I wanted to wait for them in the bottom. And the guy, once they came and they did my blood pressure thing, and I told him what was going on, the medication I took, and he said, the doctor, or not the doctor, the fire the fireman says like, you could take this whole bottle of penicillin, it won't kill you. I'm like, I think you're having a panic attack. I'm like, are you fucking shitting me? I'm like, this doesn't feel like, because I had like attack, like, you know what I mean? I felt like anxious before, but this is like it was like another level, you know?
Yeah.
And they asked me, it was like, do you want us to take you to the hospital? And I knew it was going to be like a $900 car ride. Oh my, that's a pretty expensive Uber.
Yeah.
So I called my mom. She lives around the corner. And so she came because my mom, she dealt with anxiety too all her life. I remember when I was a kid, it was like new, like it was like in the 80s. So they were barely creating the language of what panic attacks, like her disorder was. So she was an expert. So she was calming me down, and she was taking me to the hospital. We were originally going to go to Fullerton, but it was too far away. And like as she was driving there, like it came in waves, man. It came like I wanted to get out of the car, and I just like the lights were just taking forever, and I just felt like I needed to get out. And I just told her to go to West Coast Plaza. And like once we got there, I was pacing around like a crackhead. I'm like, just let me in, just let me see a fucking doctor. And I was just like, and then they did the blood, the blood pressure, and it was like it was lowered. It was like 175 over 99 or whatever. But they said it was just a panic attack, and And it's just like the way they kind of said it, it's just a panic attack. I'm like, I don't, it doesn't feel just like just a panic attack. And ever since then, guys, like it's just been, I noticed I've been having episodes every weekend, or like when I feel icky. Like I know my triggers now is like getting hungover, or overindulging and stuff, like either like drinking or food. It's just like, I guess, like, Christine, can you, for somebody who you're an expert, can you tell us what the fight or flight response is? Because I know if for people who never, this is the first time hearing this terminology, can you just help define us what that is?
Fight or flight is kind of like your ancestral, like leftover part of your brain that still wants things that you're in danger. So when you're in danger, of course, you either run, which is flight, or you fight, which is like fighting through it to save
Yeah.
yourself. Um, so anxiety is usually triggered because of fear of something. So a lot of times the fear will drive you to either, you're going to run away from it or you're going to deal with it.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's the flight because it's so uncomfortable, like you were saying. Yes, the panic attacks feel like you're dying. And, unfortunately, a lot of times people just minimize it and, oh, it's just a panic attack. But
Yeah.
really, it's very, very uncomfortable. You feel like you're dying. Your heart's like pounding out of your chest. You can't breathe. That's the problem with mental health a lot of times. People tend to minimize it because it's not so outward. Like you're not
Yeah,
expressing
they can't see it, right? Yeah,
it.
it's like internally.
Yeah.
Paul, have you dealt with anybody who's kind of telling you, just put yourself together,
Oh
or
yeah.
what I mean, very dismissive of, like, can you tell us, like, if you could articulate that feeling of being dismissed of your that disorder, having that
R-
disorder?
right. Well, I feel like in the military, it's definitely, or it used to be. I hear not so much anymore, but I you'd sit there and all these things are happening. Like I remember having an episode during Hurricane Katrina. We went down there, and obviously we followed the storm in, and the first thing that we were doing when we were cleaning up, I noticed that there was some drowned dogs. They were People left their dogs, but they tied them to the fence.
Oh,
And then
dude.
when the water line went over the fence,
Yeah.
the dogs were just chained,
Drowned.
and that affected me so much. I love dogs. I have animals, and like I wanted to fight. I wanted, like, I didn't know, like, it just felt like everything was exploding me all at once. And there was like, it's over some fucking dogs, man. I'm like, well, it wasn't the dogs. It's just like
The
just
people.
my emotion
Yeah.
response. Yeah, exactly. And I never knew that I was having panic episodes until, well into my 30s. I could start looking back and be like, oh, I was having this happen at this time.
Hmm.
And before I knew what was happening, it was definitely a hindrance in my relationships. I would start having this fight or flight, in a car or something like that. And, my partner would be like, just calm down. And it would spur into a fight because I couldn't
Hmm.
articulate that I was having
Yeah.
this emotional problem. And yeah, it definitely it happens. And being minimized, I don't, it's hard to say that it felt that people were minimizing it when I couldn't articulate what was happening to me.
Hmm.
So it was just basically, it just turned into a fight.
Yeah. You get like defensive. It's like,
Yes,
well, like,
exactly.
you know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm
Hmm.
not tripping. I was like, how come, like, and you feel like,
Yeah,
how
you just
can
feel like
how
you're
can you be
crazy.
so cold? You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I'm literally going through something, and like, obviously, like, I
Yeah.
get clammy, like, and I touch, somebody, like, wow, you're really clammy. It's like, yeah, because I'm fucking freaking out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, and
If it's hard for you to articulate what you're experiencing, then um, it's hard. It's you can't say it because you're in the middle of going through it.
Yeah.
yeah,
So you're stuck in trying to get out of this situation and these feelings. So you can't really say exactly what you're going through at the moment. So it's hard for people on the outside to kind of understand what it's like.
Yeah.
and how, Christine, what advice would you give your, like, does it vary person to person about the advice that you give them? It really depends, like, on their background, or is it kind of like the same general advice, like, oh, just get some exercise, just do some breathing exercises, you know what I mean? Because yeah, because they say when you start having a panic, you do, like, you do meditation, breathing exercises, you try to talk it out. Is there any other advice that you give your patients to deal with anxiety?
For anxiety or with like in the moment or just overall?
I guess in the moment, because
Okay.
that's that's when it feels worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And quite honestly, as silly as most people make it sound, and um, you really should breathe. There are breathing techniques that you can look up online, or
Mhm.
if you go through yoga, that helps a lot because of the meditation piece plus the breathing.
Yeah.
Um, some people will say it's hard for them to quiet their minds, but that's the whole purpose of doing those things is to quiet down your nervous system so that you're stuck not breathing. You're hyperventilating when you're going through the anxiety attack.
Hmm.
So you really should be able to get a controlled breathing technique down. And yes, sometimes being active, like pacing or exercising, or even tapping on yourself helps because again, it's slowing down your nervous system.
Yeah, Christina said, yeah, breathing is key. And it's kind of so difficult, especially like you're in that moment. And I'm like, how can I calm down? How can I breathe in when my body feels like it's going to die? Y'all,
Hmm.
like it's the truth. And like now that I'm a little, because the last episode that I had was, I would say about just, I think it was like a week before my high school reunion, like somewhere in November, this September, and my blood pressure was high. And then because my blood pressure was high, I was thinking maybe I was stroking out, and then I started to get tingly and I started sweating and I started to feel like that way again. I went to the doctor, and of course they said, oh, it's just a panic attack, you just didn't. But it's a good thing that you came in. Like, I think if anybody does feel like, because you only know about yourself, so I would suggest, if you really need to go see a doctor, just go see a doctor. I got the peace of mind. It's like, okay, it's just my head. Like, I finally got like the second doctor's like, it's just a panic attack.
Well, yeah,
And
like
there's
you said, you want to rule out the other stuff like
exactly.
a stroke or like a heart attack. You should
Exactly, because
out.
I'm getting a little older. I'm like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that I could have a stroke or a heart attack.
Yeah.
That's what I worry about. I think that's what's my trigger, is just like, if I feel something weird, feel like I'm gonna pass away, or I'm gonna die, and I think that's what might go to that fight or flight mode. I'm just trying to live like a better life. I'm trying to lose weight, which is kind of hard. you know Yeah, it's like, because like I don't eat big. I like snacking a lot. I get, it's like, oh, there's a cookie, there's some chips. I'll just like
Hmm.
just get it. And I'm trying to cut that out. I'm just trying to drink less. Like, I haven't. For those who don't know, I got laid off about a month ago, and I'm kind of proud of myself that I haven't been drinking every other day. Because when I was younger, if this has happened to me when I was in my 20s, I'll be drinking every other day because I had no excuse. Like, what am I doing tomorrow? I'm unemployed.
Right.
But no, I'm
That's an
I'm I'm
accomplishment.
yeah, exactly. It's like, that's why I know that I'm growing up. It's like, I don't. So now it feels so refreshing to wake up without being hungover. Just
I
being like
I
clear
have a question
minded.
for you. I,
Go for it, dude.
so you said you were talking about how you were going to go to your reunion. Now, do you find that like going to things like that, or like family functions like that, do you find that your anxiety levels go up when you're
I
thinking
I
about
feel
that?
so. Yeah, I do think so. I think maybe that kind of triggered, and maybe that was part of it too. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Because I'm not saying, oh no, I'm a cool cat, I just go in. He's like, because
Right.
I was a little nervous. So I'm like, I was, but I was, in my back of my head is like, well, it's 20 years later. We're all going to be a little out of shape. You know what I mean? It's not like 10 years. But it was. I had a good time at the reunion, and I think because of it, because I was trying to slim down a little bit. Maybe my anxiety was also like, there was like little things that I was adding to my mental glass, and things were starting to spill over. And then when I took my blood pressure, I think that's when it started to overfill, because I was saying, like, oh, you know what I mean? Something, you're gonna die soon, Chris. So I'm like,
Oh.
no, no. I mean, have you noticed your triggers, Paul?
Yeah, definitely. So public speaking. So I'm definitely having a little bit of anxiety right
Really?
now.
I
But
think you're doing great.
definitely a big trigger would be so going into social situations like believe it or not, meeting you at sushi last weekend or the weekend before that. I was nervous because I hadn't seen you in so long. I
Yeah,
didn't know. And
yeah,
then
me too.
going to family functions is a huge one because um, being raising a Hispanic, it's like you have to have super thick skin, and
Hmm.
the family just like it's all done in jest. Everybody's just lobbing insults, but it's still kind of stings. So I gotta
Yeah.
like mentally prepare for that when I go visit family, even though you know it always ends up the same. I always end up leaving happy and glad I went. But
Hmm.
before, I just like, oh my goodness, I'm just like, you know,
Yeah, you go like,
I get it.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
get it real bad. Yeah,
yeah. Uh, I think it's just like you play like these like scenarios that won't happen. It's like, oh, then like I'm gonna say the wrong thing, they won't accept me. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you
exactly.
start tripping yourself out. But when you start doing it, it's like you're glad you went.
Yeah,
Because I started doing like I haven't done it in a while, but I was doing stand up last year, and I was getting like major. It's like, oh my god, what am I doing to myself?
yeah.
Like nobody's like, because my mom was still like, if you feel so nervous, why are you doing it? It's like, I need
Yeah.
strangers to love me, mom.
Oh, that'd be the truest sentence ever.
Yeah, I know. And then Christine's Annie is like, okay, you're like, all right, tell me more, Christian. Why do you need people to love you? No, but like, when I was out, when I did it, I was glad. I mean, dude, I was fucking sweating. You know what I mean? Like strangers just looking at me, and like some jokes were landing, and but I was glad that did it. I did it because like I overcame like a social,
Yeah.
like something that I would have done like years ago. Because
Oh yeah.
I think it's very important to step out of your comfort zone so you could take control of your life. So you could dictate what, like, it's not your anxiety that's dictating your life.
And
Yeah,
and at least you're getting out there and putting yourself out there instead of wondering what if.
yeah. And I think that's what also drives me crazy too. It's like, well, what if I did this? What if I think that would drive me more crazy
Yeah,
than getting
definitely.
like the silent, like silent treatment at a crowd. I think uh but I heard when I was going through these episodes of Panic Attack that getting, if you're having an episode, that taking a cold shower helps you, like a very cold shower, because like it shocks your system. And because it takes you, like, your mind stops thinking about like the internal stuff, and you start feeling everything, and that helps. So that's like something that can help you guys who are listening. Is like, if you're having an anxiety attack, take a very cold shower because it shocks your nerve system. It's Yeah, it's effective.
Um, my my first week in therapy was just all intensive. I think it's called DBS.
Yeah.
Basically, when you're having an episode like that, like to splash cold water on your face, to do jumping jacks, to basically try to focus your mind elsewhere. Those are the biggest things that you're bringing up, and you, Christine, that you brought up with um, getting active, like doing something like that. That was a big thing to learn for me. Was because I do I ruminate, so basically I just get caught in a feedback loop in my own head.
Hmm.
I I found that these little tidbits that they seem cliche, splashing yourself with cold water, take a cold shower, but they really work. They're
Hmm.
cliche for a reason, I think.
I think the hard part is that once it feels better, that people think that it like you only use it once. This is
Hmm.
something that you need to use every day type of situation. With coping skills, it's like practice makes perfect, and you do have to consistently do it and not wait until you feel in the middle of a situation before you use it, because at that point it's become like it's kind
Yeah,
of late. But it's something that you got to manage like every day and work at every day.
it's like stretching in the morning, right?
Yeah.
You just can't get out and start. I mean, you can, but then you'll eventually hurt
Yeah.
yourself. But yeah, it's just that. I mean, I'm guilty of not following through. After I feel good, I'm like, I don't need it anymore. And then like that happens, like, ah, shit, Christian.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
I mean, what are your guys' thoughts with medication? I know, like, Christine, you're not like you don't prescribe pills or anything like that, but like, are you against it? Are you, Paul? Are you against taking like Xanax, or you know what I mean? Like, or like, do you want to take it all holistically, like not taking medication? Oh, and if you don't want to tell me, if you don't want to share that you're taking medication, it's totally fine. I know about the HIPAA laws.
You go ahead first, Christine, and then
Um, well, yeah, I don't prescribe medication. I don't give the medication or dispense medication, so it's like out of my scope. But then, as a therapist, um, usually we kind of do recommend that for some, if it becomes intense and it's part of your brain chemistry, It's like diabetes or hypertension. If you need help with those things, you do take meds, just like with mental health. And that's part of the stigma, people not wanting to take the meds, but your head is attached to your body still.
Yeah.
So you do, if that needs to be regulated, you also take the meds. But we always recommend it goes in conjunction with therapy because that teaches you.
Of course. Of course. And like because for some people they get addicted with taking the medication and they rely as a crutch, and then when they take it away they find it hard functioning without it. So I mean obviously I'm just a pod podcast host. I don't, I'm not. Just talk to your doctors, all I'm saying, but my opinion is like if you need it, I mean I take it, and if the doctor gives it to you, you should take it. But it's hard to mend the mind because you could fix like a broken bone, you know what I mean? You get better with the sore throat, but like something like like mental, like your brain, it's kind of hard to fix because you have to work out your issues and figure out what are your triggers, why are you doing this, like I mean like why are you feeling that way, it's much complex is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh, say that again, Christine. You're gonna cutting off a little bit. A little bit,
I don't know what
I think you just had to like, yeah. Well, anyways, we'll come back to Christine once she like buffers. But Paul, what have you been doing to get your outside of your head?
Oh, well, first off, I want to touch about the
Go for it.
medicine thing.
Yeah, go for it.
So I really never really wanted to take medicine. I have this the medication in my head brings out like a feeling because I feel like medication here, like, oh, we take a pill for being fat, we take a pill for this, we take a pill for that,
Yeah.
and I don't want to just be taking pills for everything. So um, but that being said, um, I was having an anxiety attack last summer, I think, and my cousin, who is on, I think it's called Ativan, she gave me one. She goes, "Oh, this helps me when I'm having an attack," and she gave me one, and it turned my world from. I was feeling anxious until I took it, and I just didn't feel anything at all after I took it, and
Mm.
I didn't like that feeling. We went out to the beach and we are hanging out, and I just felt like a zombie. I was just there,
Yeah.
and I didn't
I
like the
heard.
way it put me.
Yeah, I heard about that feeling too. That feeling of numbness.
Hmm.
Like you just don't. You're just there. You just like
Yeah.
you're just existing, not living. And I know somebody. I don't want to burn him, but like somebody close to me, like he was taking that medicine, and like he said he didn't like that feeling, and then
Yeah.
him trying to get off of it was a little harder too because he said he would stay up with insomnia because his brain was
Yeah.
missing that brain chemistry, that brain candy,
Yeah.
and it was just it's very hard, I think, because I tried Xanax, not because it was prescribed to me, just because I could get it, and
Hmm.
that helped me out a little bit. I think that was crazy about having like after the aftermath of having a panic attack is like, do you feel lethargic afterwards, Paul, or is it like you're very tired? It's like you just kind of like fuck, like it just felt like you were just running for like a marathon. You just like feel
Yeah.
very
You
exhausted.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You hit it right on the head, the nail on the head. You hit the nail on
Yeah,
the head.
yeah, there you go.
Because after you have an episode, your brain has been going through miles and miles of scenarios that don't exist, and you feel like you've ran them. So you feel like you've just got off of a full workload. So yeah, I mean, like I feel utterly exhausted and depleted, afterwards, and it's just I could been sitting in a chair the whole time,
Hmm.
and then I get up and I'm like, oh my god, I'm
Yeah,
done.
I find that very odd too. Like the first
Hmm.
time I had like the serious one and like the aftermath, like why am I so incredibly exhausted? Like I'm yawning and my body is just like I
Hmm.
just want to sleep, And it's just part of it because your mind just is so jacked up, it's worked up, and yeah, it's very trippy. It's very trippy to deal with like that disorder.
Um,
And go for it, Paul.
well, well, I was just thinking when you said that you started yawning, maybe your body's like ready for sleep because when you're going through the anxiousness, I know that for the 2 weeks leading up to my panic attack or my nervous breakdown, I was drinking every day, obviously, because I was
Mhm.
going through this divorce and custody battle, and I wouldn't sleep. And that's the most important thing, I think. The Among breathing, among everything, getting the proper amount of sleep is really
It's
key
key.
for a quality of life. And when you're going through that, you're not sleeping. So I think the tiredness is like, okay, my body got rid of that, we're over this, let's try to get some sleep now.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I suffer from insomnia, and I always had it. Like even when I was a kid, I was like, I knew about Conan O'Brien because I was watching all those late night shows. I even watched the infomercials after the late night talk shows because I just
Slap
couldn't
shot.
go to sleep. Yeah, it's like and then in the morning it's like, Mom, Mom, you should get this product. I wrote the number. You can eat the cream. Um, but yeah, it's just I guess because I'm just hardwired that way. I think it's just part of my genetics to have anxiety because I know I read an article where it's part of your hereditary. I can't roll my R's, damn it, but it's part of your genome. But yeah, for I also read in this article that men are now coming forward. More men are coming forward with anxiety attacks because back in the day it was frowned upon. With men had to keep their composure, and now people are becoming more open with their mental disorder, and I think that's why there's a uptick on male cases now because we're just becoming more open to it, and which is really good. Which is really good. And like in your experience, Christine, is there do you see more female than male in your practice, or is it mixed?
I actually see a mixture of, because anxiety goes along with a lot of the other mental disorders.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes hand in hand with depression and or substance use. So it's really, to me, kind of equal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about like the age? Like, do you see kids more? Do you talk to kids more, like teenagers? Because I watch the news and they say like teens are having more anxiety attacks than previous generations, and maybe it's because like the what's going on in the world, or yeah, I don't know, or the social media,
Yeah.
uh, do you see kids more, or do you just see grown-ups, adults?
I see it is increasing with the kids because of the social media. The bullying happens both inside school and now outside because it's
Yeah,
online too. Um, a lot of expectations have changed socially for them. And the other part is people are just more open about it, so they talk about it more.
that's yeah. I can see that because yeah, just like because when you leave school, when our age, when our generation, you just leave school, you leave the bullies behind, and then you just go home and relax.
Yeah,
But like now, like they ping you or they tag you, and it's like, oh, look at this piggy or whatever. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? They like it's there. Like you just can't escape. And I that sucks for them, dude. That's fucking sucks. Um, but uh, what resources, Christine? What resources can somebody who can't financially afford mental health services? Is there like a phone number or like or an organization that you know about that where they could provide free mental health for somebody
uh,
who's financially strapped?
okay. With LA County, it's the Department of Mental Health website. And with Orange County, you also go with the County of Orange, because through the county they offer, low cost
Hmm.
or no cost mental health. You don't have any insurance coverage, or if you have Medi-Cal. Um, for those who can afford a little bit more, some therapists offer sliding scale, meaning they'll
Okay.
offer a cheaper rate. You find, the therapist, usually I want to go on
Hmm.
psychologytoday.com. They'll have listings of different therapists and different kind of payments that they take and what their expertise are.
I yeah, like thank you for sharing that, Christine. I appreciate it. And I was doing my research, before the show, and I also have like another resource. It's actually LA County, and they have a program called I Prevail, and it's free mental health services. So you just put I Prevail like iPad, but I Prevail together, and LA County, and they provide free services to anybody who lives in LA County for free mental health services. And there's like a number that you can call. As they're open 24/7. You can talk to like a fellow peer, talk about your issues, and I think it's really important that there's these resources out there, and it's like it's good. It's good to talk it out,
Yeah.
and that's what we're doing today.
Those
Hey,
are good students too. They can
Paul.
go through their school.
I'll say that again.
For students, they can go through their school, and there's actually programs like for within the LGBTQ community as well. If you look that up online,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good that we live in a state that provides these services.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Paul, what advice would you give somebody who's experienced this for the first time? Who's like, what advice or what help would you give
Yeah.
them?
Um, well, first off, I'd like to shout out Tony Soprano for starting to break down the stigma for men in getting healthcare. That
Yeah.
really paved the way 20 years ago to us getting us here to being open and honest about it. We don't have to be the stoic old man anymore.
It's funny. It's funny, Paul. Like my brother's watching The Sopranos, and he's like, yeah, basically what you just said right now is almost verbatim what he said.
Right. Um, but yeah, I mean that's the thing. So since I've been in therapy, I've been open and honest. I'm open with everything. I basically I wear my heart on my sleeve. So like at work, I brought up the conversation at work, telling people, oh, I'm in therapy about this, and then, other guys that don't really talk about it, came up to me on the side and they're like, oh, hey, do you get upset about this? And they're like, oh, I feel kind of the same way sometimes. I'm like, hey, when you're doing that, instead of putting your fist through the wall, just take a walk. Um, but I encouraged a lot of people to look for mental health. It's really important. It's like going to the gym for your body.
Yeah,
Your mind is just as important, I think. If it's at least 50-50, your body's good, but if your body looks good, but your mind is weak, you're not going to be good for anything, really.
yeah,
But yeah, so everybody I talk to, I tell them, hey, therapy, even if you don't think you need it, it could help. You know.
And a
yeah.
lot of
Rather,
reasons you don't need to have like some major disorder before you get therapy. It's just about finding out who you are and how you deal with things. Maybe you don't like the way that you respond to things right now, the way it is. Doesn't mean like it has to be a big deal. And that's the problem with mental health is people think that you go in there, you have to have some big disorder or you're crazy.
Yeah.
I
and
recommend it for everybody, actually.
uh,
Can I? Sorry,
go for it. No, go for it.
because
Go for it.
you reminded me of something about not wanting to go. Um, so being in the military, I went to all these third world countries, and we built hospitals and playgrounds, and there I saw some of the happiest people. They were in these poor countries, but they didn't really have what we had here, so they didn't know about it. We had all this stuff, and so it would actually make me feel more depressed that I'm feeling depressed because I met these people that were so happy with little to nothing in their lives,
Hmm.
and it just made me feel so bad. But yeah, to your point, you going is very important.
Do you think like the materialism in our society is like contributing to people's anxiety that we're not living to society's expectations of like having a house, having nice
Yeah,
things,
right.
they really see the exterior stuff and not really the internal stuff. Like, well, is this guy happy? Like, yeah, sure, he has like a Ferrari, like, but this guy, like, oh, for example, like that guy who the former CEO of Bed Bath and Beyond, he jumped off
Yeah,
his New York suite.
yeah.
And I'm like, this guy, he was like, he was a millionaire, and he wasn't happy. And like, it just goes to show you that the materialistic stuff that you have doesn't make the man. Is if this guy is happy or not. Any
Hmm.
individuals, living to to what they want to live for. This is it's a very trippy story, dude.
Yeah, it's sad because you think that in my life, you see these people and you're like, if I could get to that status, I'll be happy. But the
Yeah.
thing is, a saying that I've taught myself is, if you want the grass to be greener, you got to water it.
Mm,
Instead of
that's-
moving into the new house, because you can move into the house and you're still not watering the grass, then your grass is going to die.
yeah. That's a good proverb.
Because you're
Uh,
always going to want more. And then with social media being the way that it is, then you're comparing yourself to everybody else too, because that's
mhm.
now a problem because you now see how everybody's posting about their lives.
Yeah, and it's always like the happy moments of their lives. Do you
Hmm.
guys remember the movie? It's an old movie, Photoshop or 1 Hour Photo with
Robert
Robin
Williams.
Williams. Yeah, That was really good. Like I liked his little narrations. Like people always choose the happiest moments of their lives. They never snap the saddest parts. Like, and it's very true. Like even more now because of Instagram and social media. I never see a post where somebody's like having a shitty day.
Yeah.
It's either like they have their Danish and they're going like this, or like
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just I believe social media has a very strong impact of like people's state of mind right now.
Hmm.
And people just need to relax. Do what you need to do. Do you? You know?
Yeah, that's it. That's the whole thing. Um, what we don't realize is we always worry about what everybody else thinks of us, but what we're not thinking of is that everybody else is thinking the same thing. So
Mhm.
everybody's just worried about themselves. So just just be,
Yeah.
you know?
Do what you want.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
long as it doesn't hurt somebody.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just I think just again, people like it's hard. It's easy for us to say just do what you want, do what makes you feel happy. But sometimes that's hard for somebody, not because of the social anxiety of pursuing your dream or doing what you want, but like the obligations of providing for your family. Having paying your bills. It's kind of hard is when you get older to do what you want because you're obligated to take care of yourself. You know, and it's I mean that's something that's also affecting like my anxiety too is that like I feel like I'm spending too much time at work. I'm when I was before I got laid off, I was like I'm at work all day. I'm here 40 hours a week. I see these people more than I see my mom and my dad and my boyfriends, and that was just bumming me out. Oh my, I should just have a tent here and just like not leave,
Right.
because like, and that was something that was contributing to my anxiety too. Is that wasn't I wasn't fulfilling like my what I wanted to do is like be a writer, create stuff because I like telling stories, and this summer I made it a point to just be more creative. Just get my stuff out there, and if people don't like it, like maybe you'll like the other thing that I produce. Yeah. Now here's a question for both of you guys. Do you think anxiety can be beat?
Honestly, I what I was saying earlier is I don't want to burst that bubble, but it's more something that is managed to me. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
something like with mental health. I think the expectation for people and what deters them from therapy is that they think that once I go, it's just going to go away. It's about learning the skills to manage every day. This is just a condition you live with, and the reality is it's something that comes and goes.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
And
an
it
honest
and it
response.
manifests itself in different forms. You think
yeah,
you know the tricks to get it this way, and then all of a sudden it's gonna come in through the back door.
yeah.
I
I
see.
always see it in therapy. People come in and they think, but I don't want to feel this way ever again. But like you said, Paul, other situations in life will come up. They're feelings.
Mhm.
Feelings ebb and flow. They come and go.
Oh, we lost her.
Yeah.
But you know what, Paul? Like, do you get anxiety about like having anxiety attacks?
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
oh my, when's the next trigger? When's the next time I'm gonna have it? And you're like kind of panic. It's like, well, it
yeah.
hasn't happened yet, you know?
Right, or okay, so, like I've told you before, me and my partner a big anxiety thing that you were talking about is buying a house, right? And to me they say that that's the American dream, but that's to me it's just debt. It's 30 years of having to get up to go to work to pay for
Mhm.
this damn thing. And it that depression um really got to me. So me and my partner decided that we were going to buy a bus and turn it into a school an RV, and then
Yeah,
we are going to just drive around the country. And that made us happier because it gave us a goal
achieve.
to strive for. Yeah, exactly. To get our life worth living, because that's a big goal in therapy, is to live a life worth living. And where was I going? I'm sorry, I'm reading this conversation on the
Oh
side.
yeah,
So
sorry throwing it
but
out.
then we get this with this bus. It's a whole new set of anxiety because I just realized I've never built a house before.
Mhm.
So it's constant anxiety one way or another because we're all climbing this hill in life.
You know, but that's exciting because like living in that being mobile gives you that freedom. You know what I mean? You're stepping away from the shackles, and you're taking charge of your own destiny instead of like
R-
buying the house and having a 30-year mortgage.
Right.
Yeah, because
The big
my
thing.
go for it, Paul.
Okay, yeah. So like the big thing, like we were talking about the 30-year mortgage, where I completely lost what I was going to say. I'm so sorry.
It's like, all right, man. Because my dad, my family, they, my dad had to get a 30-year mortgage for the house that I grew up in, and he finally paid it off. And but he was like old. He was like, it was like, we had this conversation like 2 years ago on the way coming back from dialysis, and he told me, it's like, I never, like, I got this house when I was in my 30s, and I was doing the calculus, like, oh, I'm gonna be in my 60s by the time I pay it off. And like, Dad, did you ever think you'll see, like, that you're gonna be at this moment, like when you're 60, paid off? Is like, no, I never thought, because it was just so far away.
Yeah.
But like now he's like, he was older, and he was in like, he was like, he was glad, like, obviously, like, it was an accomplishment. It's a big accomplishment to own your own house, but it was like he had to bust his ass for 30 years to maintain that house. And I never saw him when I was a kid because he was always working.
Always. Okay, I remember what I was going to say. The anxiety that I felt about going and working until I die is the retirement age is what, 65? That's what
Yeah,
when you start getting
it's
into
supposed to
retirement.
be.
Yeah, that's the average age, right? And then the average age of death is 73.
Hmm.
So and then the way things are going with the quality of life, by the time me and you get to that age, they might be reversed.
Yeah,
You might have to retire
absolutely.
at 73 while the average age of death is in the 60s
Hmm.
because just all these plastics and stuff that we put into our body. Man, it gets so basically I have to wait to the end of my life to do what I want. And
Yeah,
and we have to
it's
live
fucked
in
up.
this rat race that we have. So in building this bus, we decided that this is our escape plan to opt out of society altogether. I think
Hmm.
we want to just be hippies, and
Yeah.
and that's what we're going for.
Well, good, man. Like, I would love,
So
like, when you start doing that, I would love to have like a episode talking about like how it all went out. Maybe like an update. I think that'll be a a good story for you to tell
yeah.
us when everything's all accomplished. Cool, man. That's awesome. And Christina, what do you do to? Have you ever had an anxiety attack, Christina? I know it's a personal question, but have you personally ever dealt with that disorder?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think as any human being, we go through moments where we have anxiety. Yes. And it's
And
uncomfortable.
somebody who's a professional, like, do you practice what you preach? You know what I mean? Do you like help yourself out, like take the moment to take care of yourself mentally, so you
Of
won't have
course.
like,
Yeah. And then, we professionals in the field, we go to therapy too. Some of us do. But
yeah,
I feel like it's important because then I want to know, because it affects my work if I'm not 100% or if I didn't check in with what I have a bias against.
I got you.
Yeah.
And when you talk to like a therapist, like somebody else, like, do you feel like, because you guys are peers, like, so you know the tricks? I'm like, I know what you're doing.
Try to put that away.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you're like, you switch your brain from like being the professional to being like the patient, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah, that's good. Um, because sometimes you want is like, you want to collaborate, right? But like, no, like, just step aside, let them do their thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would imagine being like working in the mental health field, it could be quite exhausting on your end,
Mhm.
because people are unloading their emotional baggage on you,
Yes.
and to keep up like that strong front, I could imagine that's pretty exhausting. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
I feel like even with any, not just me as a professional, but with the anxiety portion too, it's important to have big part of self care is having boundaries for yourself.
Hmm.
I'm not talking just physical boundaries, but emotional boundaries of, what's going to keep me healthy, what's
Yeah,
going to, what do I not want to participate in or allow in my life.
I understand.
Yeah.
And what is something that you enjoy doing for yourself that helps you relieve anxiety? Like, do you enjoy working out? Do you enjoy like just going out shopping, or like what do you enjoy?
Music, actually. I go
Music?
to a lot of concerts.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Because I see pictures of you and Christina
Yes.
going to concerts. What was the
Yeah.
last concert that you went to?
Um, Lady Gaga.
Oh, right on. Was it
Yeah,
this year?
just a couple weeks ago.
Oh, sick. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
You know,
and
like
a lot of K-pop.
K-pop. Yeah, my niece, she loves K-pop. Um, I haven't gotten the last concert that I went to was like the music. It's been a while. I'm not much of a concert guy because I like listening it like with my earphones, like getting really vested in the music,
Right.
like you know. But
Yeah.
I enjoy going to the movies a lot. But I have to like now I'm very picky with like what I watch. I have to like the trailer really I really has to sell it to me. You know, it's like oh okay,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna watch some crap. You know, because there's so much things to watch. You know.
Sometimes
Uh,
you have to just be lost in something without thinking about it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think whether you're listening to music or reading a book or watching a movie, and
Yeah.
if you lose yourself in that artwork for
Mhm.
just 2 hours, that those creators did like they did their job. Like the kudos, you know, because like it's so hard to because you know you're watching a movie or listening to music that's produced, but like if you really get with the artist really did their job, like you just lose yourself with it, you know. But yeah. Paul's gonna be back in a little bit. But yeah, that's what I do. I mean, what I've been doing to combat my anxiety is that I just been working out. I just not like hardcore because like I have back problems, but like I just do my steps. You know, I go on the treadmill or the elliptical, just keep it light, just getting like a nice sweat and just reading and watching movies and just you know talking to my friends, just seeing how they've been doing, and that's
Mhm.
how I kind of relieve my stress.
Yeah.
But you know, like somebody that I worry a lot for some reason. I should like be more chill about my for everything, but like for some reason I always get wrapped up in the what if, like what if this happens, what if you know. But yeah, I do you get wrapped up in the what ifs?
Well, it's a major part of anxiety. It's
Yeah.
people thinking about what is and the future, but also the past.
Yeah, they regret, right?
Well, more likely what they've experienced in the past,
Mm.
traumas.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. It's all
I had
right.
to switch desks.
we, no, it's all right, Paul. But we were just talking about like things that you enjoy that helps you step out of your anxiety, like watching movies or listening to music, creating music because you're a music composer. What?
Definitely. Um, yes, that's exactly what I do. Um, I write music. I've been writing poetry since I was 15 years old. I've been writing music since I was 15 years old, and then um, before I had my nervous breakdown for about a year and a half, I wasn't writing, and I realized that was something I needed to do. That was an outlet for me.
Yeah.
Writing and composing are like
Yes.
they're like diary entries to me,
Mhm.
and I just stopped writing my diary. Everything's just in my head, spinning over and over again. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely writing. And then I find now that I'm exercising like you, me and my partner, we swim 3 times a week, and that
Nice.
that's a huge thing. I find um, if days that we're not swimming or if, like we don't swim, I have like pent up energy that is misplaced.
Yeah. I totally agree with you, man. Because like I've been stuck in my house, and I'm like, I gotta get out. I gotta go visit my mom for a little bit, and I walk there. You know, and she gets
Yeah.
all worried, like, "You walked here?" I'm like, "Mom, we just live around the corner." You know, it's like, uh, but what you know, before we go, what do you guys read books about anxiety? Do you guys recommend any books to our listeners? You know, to help them out.
The DSM-5.
DSM-5? What's that? What's that? What's that? Did I miss something?
Diagnostic manual. Don't go in there.
What's the
um,
what is that? What was the DSM-5? Like, what does that stand for? Like, or is that like I didn't get that joke.
it's
It's a diagnostic manual that we use to diagnose people.
Oh, okay, okay, all right.
Oh,
Because
it's
I
like
have that.
WebMD. Yeah, basically
Yeah,
you end up being a hypochondriac reading that
yeah,
thing.
yes.
yeah. That's totally
Um,
me.
I think there's plenty of resources online. If you look up specific things for it, what you're going through, and just not just anxiety in general, because a lot of things contribute to that. So whatever you feel like um, is your issue at the moment, whether it be um, your worries or your grief or friendships, relationships, those things all contribute to anxiety. So if you
Mm,
can get specific, then it's even better.
gotcha.
Yeah.
The book that I've been reading, I read it about like 2 years ago, and it's been helping me out. But I always, every time I have a panic attack or I'm feeling anxious, I was thinking about this book right here. It's called Dare by Barry McConnell. Yeah, but I think it's very easy to read, and like it's very practical. Like it's very like, because the author, he suffers from anxiety, so he's writing from experience, and the exercises he has, very, like I get it. Like he talks about, once you have like a panic attack, you ask for more of it, so you can have more sensation of it, so you could control it, as in like you're taking charge of it instead of your anxiety taking charge of itself. And then yeah, it's just it's a really good book. I recommend reading it. It's very easy, and yeah, it's a good book. I'm not sponsored by it. I recommend it. It's for your mental health. But you know what, guys? I really appreciate you guys talking about this heavy subject today. Taking a little bit part of your day to come on Casually Christian and talk about anxiety, and I really appreciate it. Do you guys have any last words to our audience before we get out of here?
No, thank you for having me, man. I'm actually I've started a podcast with my partner about our bus. If I could plug that real quick.
Yeah, sure, dude.
Yeah, we it's Pab House. You can find us on Spotify.
Okay,
PABHOUSC. We're just talking about our journey in the bus and our life as a um healing life together.
got it, man. And yeah, well, if you could give me that link, maybe we could just pop it in our
Oh,
comments.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, pop it in. And Christine, do you want people to follow you on social media? Do you have social media?
I do, but
Yeah,
it's private. Sorry.
I got you. No, it's just me. I wanted to be polite. I didn't know if you wanted to, if you wanted to share your social
Yeah.
handles, but
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you, Christine, for giving your expertise today,
Thank you.
and I look forward to having a couple of drinks with you with Christina, but not too much. Not too
Yeah,
much.
because that'll make you have
Yeah,
anxiety.
I know. Oh no, my blood pressure.
Yeah.
Um, but again, I also want to thank you, lovely listeners, for hearing and watching me today on Casually Christian. And if you guys haven't already, please follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. And I do midweek updates every Wednesday. Talk about like socials. What's called current events and things that I've been going on with my life as well. So if you want to check that out, it's every Wednesday on Casually Christian on YouTube and Facebook. So until next time, folks, I'll see you guys soon, and have a good weekend. And yeah, thanks for checking out our program. Have a good one, guys. Bye bye. Oh, yeah.